Welcome to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.
In this podcast, we'll delve into the future trade agreement between the EU and New Zealand and see what's in it for European citizens and companies. Want to know more? Stay with us.
Today is a historical day for our bilateral relationship. Our high-quality FTA breaks new ground and sets new precedents in international trade rules. It comes at a time when protectionist voices are on the rise, questioning the essence of trade. This, coupled with the uncertainties we face geopolitically, speaks to the heart of our FTA, which is about value and also values.
This was Damien O'Connor, New Zealand's Minister for Trade, right after signing a new trade agreement with the EU in July 2023. It took both parties 4 years and over 12 negotiating rounds to get there, but finally a result they could bring back home proudly. Let's hear the European Commissioner for Trade, Valdis Dombrovskis.
Ambitious trade deals like this one, with reliable and like-minded partners, are more valuable than ever. This brings us closer to our partners, driving opportunity while providing a solid platform for cooperation, including on economic security and multilateral reform.
The EU and New Zealand are already important trade partners. In 2022, their bilateral trade in goods reached €9.1 billion. And for New Zealand, the EU is the third largest trade partner after China and Australia.
In comparison, New Zealand is only the EU's 49th largest trading partner, but we import a lot of their agricultural products, such as sheep and goat meat, but also fruit and wine.
That's why the EU committed to paying special attention to European agricultural sensitivities during the negotiations. New Zealand, for its part, aimed to secure commercially meaningful access to the EU market for its agricultural exports.
So, what are the main elements of the agreement?
Well, the most important one is possibly the elimination of all tariffs on EU exports to New Zealand, including high tariffs such as the 10% that New Zealand was imposing until now on industrial goods such as cars and vehicle parts.
The agreement also opens the New Zealand services market in key sectors such as delivery services, telecommunications, financial services, maritime transport or aviation.
Furthermore, from the moment the agreement comes into force, EU companies will be able to tender on an equal footing with local companies for public procurement contracts for goods, services and works.
The agreement will also facilitate data flows by prohibiting unjustified data localization requirements and ensuring high standards of personal data protection.
And it includes groundbreaking commitments on sustainability, including respecting the Paris Climate Agreement and protecting workers' rights and gender equality, subject to sanctions if not upheld.
Now, what will all this mean for European citizens and businesses? Stay with us.
According to an impact assessment on the new agreement, trade between New Zealand and the EU is expected to increase by 30% within a decade, with EU annual exports potentially growing by up to €4.5 billion.
And removing tariffs alone could save European companies some €140 million in duties per year.
Indeed, but apart from creating new economic opportunities for companies, farmers and consumers, the new trade agreement strengthens ties with a like-minded ally in the region, which is not to be neglected in the current geopolitical context.
So, how have stakeholders reacted?
The agreement has been met with mixed reactions on both sides, with harsh criticism from the European dairy and meat sector. Ksenia Simovic is Senior Policy Advisor on Trade and International Aspects at Copa Cogeca.
We recognize the many positive aspects of this agreement with New Zealand, also for our sector in terms of recognition of GIs and the commitments on sustainability. However, yes, some painful aspects are there as well for our sector in terms of the market access granted to New Zealand, especially on beef and sheep meat, which are very sensitive sectors, highly impacted by the cumulative impact of the different free trade agreements.
On the other side, EU employers group Business Europe has described the deal as a much-needed resumption of an ambitious EU trade agenda. Eleonora Catella is Deputy Director of International Relations at Business Europe.
The EU-New Zealand agreement is an important one because New Zealand is an important partner. It has a dynamic public procurement market, it has attractive opportunities for trade in services, and also there are still tariffs up to 5% on important EU exports like machinery, which would be eliminated, thereby improving market access for goods. And finally, we need to strengthen the EU's presence in the dynamic and geostrategic important region of the South Pacific.
During its last plenary session, at the end of November, the European Parliament gave its consent, so the agreement can now be concluded by the Council of the EU. Daniel Kasperi is the Parliament's rapporteur on this file.
The world is changing. Countries like Indonesia, China are getting stronger and stronger. Countries like Russia and China are challenging the international order, and so our answer is we want to use our economic weight as European Union by delivering trade agreements to make sure that the rules-based order is still surviving. With our trade agreement with New Zealand, we are eliminating tariffs of about 140 million euro a year. We are delivering additional opportunities for our companies and entrepreneurs, and we are just getting closer with our core partners who are sharing our values.
So, once it's been ratified by New Zealand, the free trade agreement can finally enter into force. Want to know more? Check out Angelos de Livorias's full policy brief on the EPRS website or in our app.
This is a European Parliamentary Research Service podcast.
Thanks for listening.